evening. I can't hear you guys. Are you guys talking?
You're on mute.
Okay.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Here.
Mrs. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Simons?
Present.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Wider will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Mrs. Wider?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
And the motion passes. And now, this meeting's inspirational message will come to us from the Princeton Community Middle School. Mr. Burton.
Thank you very much. You know, in life, when we leave whatever school we're in, whatever vocation, avocation, occupation, whatever it is, we leave a legacy. And it's so appropriate tonight, not only for the middle school to do this, but also the two people that we're going to be recognizing here momentarily in the legacy that they're leaving. So without further ado, let's get right to Princeton Community Middle School, leaving a legacy, and certainly appreciate all the great work that's done by their students, staff, and administration led by Dr. David Maxim, who does a wonderful job as a principal of PCMS. Mr. Lockhart.
Hi, this is Dr. Maxim. I am the proud principal of Princeton Community Middle School. I just want to introduce our students. They're going to be talking about the legacy and impact they can leave. So I want to go ahead and remind you and give you a little quick thing that I always tell our students is, at PCMS, we respect and celebrate our differences here at school. At no time should anybody be made fun of for being different or unique. Everyone has a unique strength or contribution that they can give to our school. We're diverse, hashtag PCMS family. We're who you are, no matter the differences in skin color, religion, economic background, language, LGBTQ, or nationality. We all come together as a Viking. So again, our legacy is we want to celebrate our differences. So I hope you enjoy this inspirational message from our students.
Legacy.
Legacy is defined as what you leave behind, but it means so much more.
Legacy is putting a stamp on the future and making a contribution to future generations.
And we want to say thank you for the legacy you're leaving for Princeton and the communities you serve. You have provided.
You have worked.
You have encouraged.
You have empowered us to be prepared for college careers and life success.
You have empowered us to strive to be
A nurse.
A real estate agent.
An educator. A surgeon.
A lawyer.
an architectural designer,
A dietitian.
Chef.
A historian. An engineer.
And we want to say
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Muchas gracias for paving the way with your legacy so that
I
I
can become the future.
Wow, that was great. We thank Princeton Community Middle School for that message. It's always good to see our students evolving into something wonderful. So we thank you for that.
Sure, and thank you for all the staff for putting that together and the students for starring in it. It certainly was a great representation of the wonderful work that's done each day at Princeton Community Middle School.
At this time, we have some recognitions of some more greatness.
Sure, and speaking of legacy, when you look at the record of our women's basketball coach or girls basketball coach, Jill Phillips, I'm going to ask Jill to walk up, saunter up if you can to the microphone. While she's coming up here, let me read a couple things to you. Princeton High School's coach Jill Phillips recently broke the school record of all-time wins. Phillips now holds the all-time wins record for Lady Viking basketball program, 319-75, an overall record of 353-92. With 8 GMC titles. Under her leadership, the Lady Vikings team won the OHSAA Division I state championship in 2014, the school's second. This record could not have been achieved without all of the great players and coaches whom I've had the pleasure of working with during my 17 years at Princeton. Coach Phillips stated, being part of the Viking family and relationships that have been built along the way mean more to me than the wins and losses. Coach Phillips' record is a result of the dedication she makes to our student athletes, her supportive staff, her passion for the game of basketball, all repeated by Joe Roberts. We're very proud of Lady Viking basketball team, program, and the accomplishment, the overall accomplishment. The school's record was previously held by Hall of Fame Coach Jerry Stein. He coached at Princeton from 1983 to 2002 and amassed an overall record of 282 and 125 with 7 GMC titles, and led the Ladies Viking to the first championship in '87. So, Coach Phillips, all the great work that you've done, clearly following a legend, and then surpassing all the great work that was done with more GMC titles. I know it wasn't a competition at all. I know you pay homage to those people that you worked with, that will follow you, and actually that came before you. But it is amazing to think about the great records and all that stuff. But one of the things I have to tell you, there are people that come back and talk about Coach Phillips all the time. And when Kelsey Mitchell, who's arguably one of the biggest stars to come out of Princeton in any sport, I know we had some other great superstars in basketball, D. Davis and others, but Kelsey never misses an opportunity to come back and help with the program. And that has to do with you, Jill. And this is about you And we certainly appreciate on behalf of the Board of Education, all the great work that you've done, who you are, both in the classroom, outside of the classroom, on the basketball court, and outside of the basketball court. We certainly appreciate you and just want to give you an opportunity to share a few thoughts. All-time record holder.
Thank
Wow.
you. Again, couldn't be done without the great players that I've had the opportunity to coach. And it's funny because, I mean, I knew nothing about Princeton when I came here and to interview in 2002. And it's just been the best experience ever. And I've said this many times before when, you know, when people get hired at Princeton, they talk about the Princeton family. I just kind of, what's this? And it really is a family. And I'm happy to be part of the family. It's been great.
Well, thank you so much, Jill. I don't know if any Board of Education members want to say anything, but again, when you think about world record holder, there you go, world record holder. But all-time leader in wins. And I think it really defines who you are when you talk much more about the relationships that you've developed over the years that mean more than the wins and the losses.
Right. And we appreciate you as a teacher as well. I mean, for the kids who don't get to be under your coaching, you're still making a great impact. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. Appreciate it.
And
Thanks,
for
Jill.
coming.
I also
Very
want to
much.
say congratulations. And it's so apropos that you're getting it today. This is International Women's Day. And I think you're the first woman coach at Princeton to have such an outstanding record. Thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah, you certainly have left behind a huge legacy and continue to do so in the classroom, and really appreciate it. Thank you, Jill. And you'll be receiving a small token of appreciation from the Board of Education next week.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, while we're on this subject, I think there's something to be said for Jill's longevity. Also Jerry Stein's, but Jill's longevity. She had an opportunity to leave and go to other locations, but she decided Princeton was going to be her home base, and it shows in the results. So if we can put that in a bottle and duplicate that, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
Oh, the next recognition. Boy, you talk about an opportunity that we had at the Rotary Club meeting, the last one that 2 weeks ago. Dia Patel, please come up here. Your heart is getting ready to get so warm. This young lady is a superstar's superstar. It is absolutely incredible what you will hear her talk about. But Dia was recognized by the Rotary for February Student of the Month and did a wonderful job speaking about all these accomplishments. But more than that, she talked about bringing people together. She talked about, in her own words, about leaving a legacy. Dia, on behalf of the Board of Education, we recognize you tonight. Certainly appreciate you for the great work. And just a junior, which is incredible to me to think about everything that you've done. So Dia, can you share a few thoughts, some of the things you talked about at Rotary?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me tonight. So I was honored as Rotary Student of the Month. It was a great experience overall. I got to meet a lot of new people, and it was just overall really nice. So I helped start a coat drive out in our district, and thank you to Ms. Wider for helping us with that, and Mrs. Zinnicker. They've been just so wonderful, and we were able to collect a lot of items for students that have been less fortunate, especially with this pandemic. We've seen a lot of different challenges students have faced, so it was great to see that we had a huge turnout, as well as right now with another group of students in Key Club, I've been working on starting this tutoring program at Heritage Hill. A lot of students have, again, faced so many challenges, and sometimes we tend to forget the students that may not speak English that well. And we're at Key Club, we're such a diverse group of students. We have students from all different backgrounds, so we can really connect with the students. Just like our Key Club Hair Drill is so diverse, and that's so great. We can connect with students, provide them with a new learning opportunity. And not just those elementary students, they're gonna learn things. Our Key Club students will learn leadership skills, and it's just a great program, and I'm so thankful to be here tonight.
Oh, we're glad.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the courses that you're taking, all while balancing everything else that you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So at Princeton, I have so many different opportunities. So right now I'm in YBC, which is a research class, and we're working on substance abuse issues. I'm taking some AP classes and I'm taking some CCP classes. So it's just, that's like my course load. Honestly, if I wasn't at Princeton, I probably wouldn't be taking this type of course load, but the teachers really push you here. So honestly, I'm so thankful to be here.
So what are your aspirations for one day?
Yeah, so I want to go into geriatrics. So right now, our generation, statistically wise, we're going to see, we see that gap between the older generation and the younger generation. So I'm hoping to go into that field. Particularly, I want to be a geriatrician, but honestly, anything in the geriatric field would make me happy. So that's my aspirations.
Well, I, for one, am glad about that.
And I'm more glad than you are.
Dia, I don't want to put you on the spot, honey, because I know you work so very hard. But I believe you hold well over a 4-point grade point average.
Yeah.
And balancing everything else that you're doing, these wonderful aspirations. And I know you have a great family support structure, and they push you as well, which is awesome. And so when you think about the legacy that you're leaving behind, think about this: the great service, the great reputation, the hard work. And Mrs. Gould, your guidance counselor, she could not say enough nice things about you. Mr. Balmer, Ms. Stollard, everybody says great things. The legacy you're leaving behind as a Viking is something we could all look to and be very proud of. And whatever you need in the future, you know that you'll always be a Viking. I know you talked about starting at a young age, and look where you are right now doing wonderful things. So Dia, again, on behalf of the Board of Education, thank you so much. Congratulations. And next week, you'll be getting a certificate as well.
Thank you so much for having me tonight again.
Thank you.
Could I ask her a question, please? Have you thought about what college you're going to?
Honestly, that's been a kind of a stressful situation. I've been thinking about it. Honestly, junior year with all this stuff that's going on, I've been thinking about maybe UC, OSU, and then maybe some out-of-state colleges, apply to some reach schools John Hopkins, maybe Tufts. We don't know yet, honestly.
The reason I asked, I just wanted to put a word in for my alma mater, Ohio University in Athens. They have a great college of medicine and full tuition scholarships that they're just handing out to smart kids like you. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll take the suggestion.
Thanks, Dia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dia.
And I think she and her group collected enough coats that we could have filled every seat in Matthews. So I appreciate that.
That's great. And
lastly, every month of March, we know that this is Music in Our Schools Month. We also have, there's other months too. I mean, there's other reasons. It's also Women's History Month, which every day I've been tweeting, hashtag contributing 365, because as I've been very, very consistent saying, and I see the Board of Education are all wearing their Not Just in February shirts recognizing Black history. It is not just in February, nor is Women's History just in March, nor is whatever history month it is. We need to recognize and appreciate each other every single day. But with that being said, we have a specific resolution tonight for our music and education, but we're going to start off with a great performance. Mr. Lockhart, thank you.
I'd like to introduce our student performer, Maria Lenhart. Maria is a very versatile musician. She plays clarinet in the PHS Symphonic Band. She plays bass drum in the PHS Marching Band. She plays the alto saxophone in the PHS Jazz Ensemble, and she plays steel drum in a community group called Divine Steel. On top of all that, she is also an accomplished pianist and will be performing on piano for you. After graduation, Maria plans to attend the University of Cincinnati and study education to become a teacher. She is one of our top musicians in the department, and we are excited to share her efforts and talents with you. Maria Lenhart will be performing an arrangement of Pachelbel's Canon.
That was beautiful.
Excellent.
Lovely.
Maria and her fellow students in the music department do such an amazing job, led by Kristen Brown, the department chair. There's a resolution here I'd like to read very quickly. And again, this is proclaiming Music in Our Schools Month, March 2021, with the theme Music, the Sound of My Heart. Whereas the members of the Princeton Board of Education wish to proclaim the month of March 2021 Music in Our Schools Month. And whereas a study of music contributes to young people's development through heightened skills in listening, reading, self-expression, and creativity. And whereas music education in the schools includes a broad range of types of music and active musical experiences. And whereas music and other arts significantly enhance the morale and quality of a school environment. And whereas it is a stated objective of the public school to prepare children for a productive role in our society. Whereas the National Association of Music Education has designated March 2021 as Music in Our Schools Month. Princeton's theme will be Music, the Sound of My Heart. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, the Princeton Board of Education endorses the observance of Music in Our Schools Month as an opportunity to support the purposes and practices of music education and encourages teachers, parents, students, and all citizens to participate. And I'd be remiss if I did not remind everybody out there to make sure you vote for the Pride of Princeton Marching Band, they were nominated, and the voting period is open through March 31st. Go to our website for more information on that, but through USA Today and Cincinnati Sports Award, please make sure you go and vote early and often. I believe you can cast
Every day.
multiple votes, so please make sure you do that. Thank you very much.
We know they're world renowned. We just need to do that voting every day to make sure that everybody else knows what a great band it is. Thank you for that. And thank you for all the recognitions. And for those of you that came to visit us, thank you. Okay, next is our consent agenda. If I can have a motion for that.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Mrs. Petter, please call the roll. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead and discussion.
You got any questions or discussion?
Yes.
All right.
Prom, if we could enlighten everyone here. That's part of the consent agenda.
It's the DJ is.
No, agreement with Samuel Convention Center and agreement with Main Event Entertainment as well as the DJ.
Okay, ask your questions.
Well, I wanted to know, is this a fact that there is going to be a prom? Are there any restrictions? Can you give us a little bit more flavoring other than what's in the packet?
Sure. Well, just last week, Governor DeWine released new orders versus gatherings, including prom and graduation. We are moving forward as is right now. But again, I just remind everybody, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. Things can change and things can change quickly. As you know, we have a contract. We voted on a contract quite some time ago with Fifth Third Arena as for graduation. As we know, they have not changed anything yet in terms of their restrictions. So we're going to move forward as if we're having graduation at Fifth Third, as if we're having prom. But again, in a pandemic, there are no guarantees. So stay tuned. We're going to do our very best to, again, make this senior year very special for all the seniors, obviously all the students. So as of right now, it is scheduled. You see, we put this forward and we all have to be patient and wait to see if there's any new orders that come up.
So this is not necessarily the final say, but it's in preparation if things are cleared.
Yep, just like we did with Fifth Third Arena.
Just making sure there's folks interesting people outside of this room that want to know. So my 11-year-old's a little young personally, but just making sure that this is something that's preparatory only.
Well, I was at a restaurant not too long ago, and one of our great students came up to me and said, "Mr. Burton, can I ask you a question?" She was working there, and I said, "Yes, ma'am. How can I help you?" She goes, "Well, I'm a senior, so you know what I'm going to ask you?" I said, "Prom and graduation." And she said, "Yes." And I said, we are going to do our very best to have both of those in the same tradition that we had before the pandemic, but we're going to have to wait and see. So I believe she's listening tonight, thinking about prom and graduation. So I'm sure I'm going to get an email from her later. And I'm going to repeat what I'm going to say right this second, which is we're in the middle of a pandemic still. We're going to do our very best to keep everything as normal as possible, actually get back to normal and have full prom and graduation. But we're going to have to stay tuned for more information on that. Thank you.
And graduation is still set for May 9th for now, right?
The graduation date has not changed.
Okay, but is it May 9th? Am I right that it's May 9th? Am I wrong?
No, it's later on.
I'll look it up.
16th, May 16th.
It's May 16th.
May 16th.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
All right, any other questions on the consent agenda? Any other comments? Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Weider.
Yes.
Motion passes. Under district business, we have approval of the February financial and investment report. You want to say something about it?
I'll do. You
After,
So there's an A.
can I have a motion first? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
we have to go to A.
You read B.
Oh, yeah.
Did I? Okay, the agenda I have has
Continuation of,
February 21 investment.
I have A is financial report
Yeah.
on all my companies.
Well, I have continuation of reduced all-day kindergarten tuition.
Okay,
Item C.
well, the agenda.
oh, okay, good.
Let's
No
look,
problem.
let's look at our agenda, and let me tell you what I have, and
Okay.
we'll use mine. So A is
Yep.
approval of the February 2020 financial and investment report. B is
Oh, that is.
the Tax Incentive Review Council appointment of the representative for that. C is the continuation of the all-day kindergarten tuition, reducing the rate of kindergarten tuition. D is approval of agreement with SWOCA for IEP Anywhere Plus. E is approval of agreement with Thought Exchange. That's what I have under district business. So,
That's on the summary one. Yeah, that's on the first two pages, Mr. Simons. I was flipping through the detailed one as well. So those got inverted, but
so can you make that adjustment?
I believe I can make that adjustment. I was just,
Okay,
didn't want us to get off the trail.
right, right. No, we all need to be on the same trail, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm going to turn to Mrs., we need a motion to approve the 2021 financial and investment report.
I
And then
move
we'll
to
have some
approve the
discussion.
February 2021 financial and investment report.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cleveland. Thank you, Mrs. Moore. And Mrs. Petter, what would you like to tell us about that?
Just a couple of things on the financial report. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is on the bank reconciliation. We have a new bank account added here. Our great partners at First Financial came to us and said there was a way to earn a little more interest in this time when interest is few and far between. So we converted to a money market account and are putting our money there. We can easily move that money in and out of the other accounts, which we pay for our bills and our payroll out of, but it does earn us just a little more interest. It is earning better than our STAR account right now. And we met and talked with our investor consultant at Red Tree, and he verified that this was the best thing for us to do at this point. When we receive the bulk of our tax dollars, the settlement should occur in March or April. We'll meet with Red Tree again and reevaluate the best plan for our money to get the most interest possible. So I wanted to give you the sad, sorry story about the interest right now. And we are about half of where we were last fiscal year at this same time. So in fiscal year 20, we had already accrued almost $900,000 in interest revenue. And now this year in fiscal 21, it's $430,000. So It is a tough economy, but we're working hard to make the most money we can on the money we have in our savings at this time.
Okay.
That being said, we're continuing to watch some of the expenses. We met, and Terry Riesenberg, the assistant treasurer, and I met and discussed that. I told you purchase services were running behind, and we were going to dig into that. The forecast is what we're projecting for the year out is looking solid. The reason that we are running behind this year as compared to last year is that we have moved some of those expenses off into student wellness and success dollars. And we haven't spent some of the money we anticipated spending because of COVID. The expenses are coming in lower than we anticipated in transportation and in utilities, which were a little surprising, but we'll continue to monitor that. But those two areas are looking better for the district at this time. We'll just keep you up to date as we move back to transporting our students all day, starting on the 15th. So we'll see what that looks like as we move through these next 9 weeks of having Scarlet and Gray back together.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to add one thing too is, and Chris is exactly right, you know, we anticipated some additional expenditures, but I think the bigger issue is just our keeping our eye on the ball and making sure that we're not spending money frivolously. The student wellness, the kind of transplant or subplant, if you will, of that was certainly very beneficial. But when you look at that, it's what John Fricke, Todd Kutel, Al Chang, and many others, when they work collaboratively with transportation. And when you look across the board of utilities, it's making sure that we have all of our systems. So when people aren't in the building, we don't keep it at the same temperature. Now, I know it gets a little bit, you know, you come in on a Monday morning, maybe a little bit chillier than what people think. But when you look at the amount of money that we're saving and it warms up quickly, that all the automation that's around there, it's really critical. And that's why when you guys supported so many of the different initiatives with energy savings, and we're seeing the benefit of it. Right there, you saw the benefit of it. So thank you, the Board of Education, for always supporting all the innovative programming and systems we have in place. Thank you.
When you referred to tax dollars coming in, was that from any kind of pandemic funding, or is that regular?
This is our property tax, yes.
Okay.
So we've asked for 3 advances from Hamilton County to get that money. You can request and have them. We'd like to have the money sooner. We'll make money on our money versus letting them make money on our money. Mm-hmm. But they final settle that out either in March or April, just depending on the timing. So far, we're projecting normal tax revenue. I will tell you that I got the first Board of Revision report from Gary Stedronsky, the attorney, today. And it was a shorter report than I was anticipating. I know that some of the businesses are having a difficult time. We do expect them to file Board of Revisions. And, you know, there's proper procedures and processes. And Gary does all that work in trying to protect our major revenue source. So I saw one that was a little bit surprising, but then it kind of wasn't. And we'll see. We'll go through the process because, you know, that is our major source of revenue, and we do have to protect it as much as we can.
For the residential reevaluations that have occurred in this very hot Cincinnati market, one of the hottest in the nation, believe it or not, how does that affect tax collection for us?
Hamilton County has a nice increase. I think it's 13 to 15%. Last time we did this, I remember seeing that number, and Princeton was falling a little bit below that. Ours was actually somewhere in the 3 to 5% range. So I'm curious to see how that all comes out this year with actual collection. But we do anticipate that we'll see, you know, a small amount of increase. You have to remember we actually only see tax increase on new construction in the residential side. Mm-hmm. And so we'll have to wait and see what that final settlement looks like. And I have some new interesting reports that we can share to show show that increase in the Forecast 5 tool that we now have.
Okay.
Ms. Petter.
Ms. Moore?
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. It
Go ahead.
sounds like as the economy goes in terms of property taxes from businesses, so goes what we will receive in terms of timing, because we're in the midst of a pandemic. And then we have to combine that with what we get from the state, what we have in our coffers, what we'll get from CARES, what we get from donations. And then once you put all that in one big pie, we'll have a picture. That's what it sounds like.
The other interesting thing that we'll watch for our tax revenues is, will we see more delinquency this year? Because businesses and residents have a harder time paying. So will we see more delinquency? That'll be an interesting number to also track as we get that final settlement.
Yeah. And while I think giving and donations may be higher from businesses, for other businesses, you're right, we might see a delinquency. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Wider,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins.
Yes, the motion passes. Next item is the 2021 Tax Incentive Review Council representative. Can I ask you a question about that? Do you remember who our representatives were? Okay, you were the representative.
me, yes.
Okay, okay. All right, can I have a motion?
I move to appoint Christine Petter as the Tax Incentive Review Council representative.
I'll second that.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? I know.
So this is an annual meeting with the Hamilton County Development Commission, and our entities that can provide tax abatements all meet. It's typically the treasurer of every school district that's there, and the Great Oaks treasurer also for us is at this meeting. And they just review where some of these projects stand and how their payment back to the district is standing. So
So it
it's
is the same thing as the tax abatement
It's
committee
yes.
or whatever.
And we just do it annually, and it was virtual last year. I assume it probably will be virtual again this year. But before that, we used to go down to the
Right.
HDCD.
Right, okay. And you don't need additional board representation on that?
No.
Okay. All right. Will you call the roll?
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Wider,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes,
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
and the motion passes. Continuation of reducing all-day kindergarten tuition is our next item.
I move to approve the continuation of reduced all-day kindergarten tuition for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Any additional comments about that? Any questions?
Just that in the September board meeting, which is September 14th, the Board of Education made a great decision in reducing the kindergarten all-day tuition by half. The request is to do the same thing through the remainder of the year. We know the economy is certainly taking its toll, or the pandemic's taking its toll on many people, specifically related to income. So that's why the request was made.
Okay. Any other
Yes,
comments?
I'd like to see this extended beyond just this school year, since a lot of these children did not have an opportunity to really participate, even on the Scarlet and Gray schedule. That is, if we want to remain competitive with our younger students.
Are you saying,
We don't have to make the motion now for that. I'm just suggesting that situation be studied to continue this into the 21-22 school year.
We've had lengthy conversations internally about what that would look like next year. We needed to do something this year right away to end the school year. So look for another recommendation that'll be forthcoming,
Okay.
probably within 2 months.
Okay.
Good. Any other comments or questions?
I think it's such an outstanding move. I think from the cradle to the grave, the Princeton City School District should be on top of educating our citizens. And I just think it's so outstanding that we were able to cut the cost of kindergarten.
Okay. All right. Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Wider?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item, approval of agreement with SWOCA.
Move to
I
approve.
move to approve the
SWOCA.
agreement with SWOCA for IEP Plus, Anywhere Plus.
Second.
Thank you. Questions? Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Mrs. Wider?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item, approval of agreement with Thought Exchange.
I move to approve the agreement with Thought Exchange.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Any questions or comments?
Just that, we work really, really hard. We're not perfect at Princeton. We have heard from many of our stakeholders about the communication we've done, the honest and upfront communication, transparent. We've received tons of input in a lot of different venues, whether or not, we sent out surveys, we received phone calls. In fact, Dr. Hawkins and myself received an unbelievable email from a resident, and it praised the Board of Education, administration, teachers, staff, everybody for the great work that was done. It was an awesome email to receive, and that wasn't the first, and it's not going to be the last. But one of the things that we really look at to make sure that we continue to engage our community authentically is, I think we could do a little bit better. And Thought Exchange is going to help us do that. We had a trial basis. We did a little bit with that, and it worked out great. And with ESSER money, we're going to be able to, CARES money, we're going to be able to purchase this. And 1 year trial, we're going to see how it works. And Tricia Roddy has used this a little bit before and has talked to many of the public relations officers, and they've spoken very positively about this. And so for the community, please make sure that when we send out information that you respond accordingly, especially because we're trying to get as much input as possible. We know that there's going to be lots of information that we're going to push out and information that we're going to need as we continue to make decisions that are best for our students. We know that the pandemic, as I've said multiple times tonight, the pandemic is not over. We still have lots of work to do, and we need to still get lots of input. For people who are upset with different things, if you did not give us your input, quite frankly, you could be upset with yourself for not giving input. This Thought Exchange is going to help us get more information, and that's what we want, so we can make informed decisions that are best for our students. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Petter?
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Wider?
Yes.
Motion passes. And now discussion. Our first item is the Princeton Review and Revision of Policies from the Winter Spring Board Update. You had those in your packet. Anybody have any questions about them? Okay. Then that was the first reading, so you'll get another shot to look at them again, and then we will approve them. Academic update, Mr. Burton.
Sure. Dr. Mary Phillips is going to come up here and give you a brief update regarding what's happening. We know that school is going to start a week from Monday. We're going to bring Scarlet and Gray back. Today, we had a great Leadership Academy meeting after school with all the leadership in the entire district. And we talked about in the buildings, we're going to be out very positive. We're going to welcome everybody back. not everybody, but all the Scarlet and all the great kids together. This will be the first time that many of these kids will see each other since a year ago. And so bringing kids back, we know that's going to be amazing. Quite frankly, I think it's long overdue, but I understand. And I think we behaved appropriately. We followed protocols. We did all that stuff. Understand that John Fricky, Chris Lockhart, the entire team, they've done wonderful. Well, they've taken a lot of safeguards in making sure that when kids come back in, it's going to be safe. We're going to do things the right way. In fact, earlier today, Mr. Fricky and I were in a meeting and he received a phone call regarding plexiglass. And so to say that we're on top of it, I think we are. Again, we're not perfect. And if any student or parent has questions or concerns with the transition, please make sure you reach out to us. And if you don't remember, you call the hotline, check the website, call central office, no problem. Dr. Phillips?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burton. As he said, we've been preparing for this day, and it is finally coming. We're excited about our students coming back on March the 15th. Today, we had a leadership meeting with our administrators and talked a lot about this, but also during the course of the last couple of weeks, the principals have presented information regarding their academic achievement plans, and in that they actually talked about some of the things that will be occurring as we have our students to come back. So we definitely are going to make sure that our health and safety expectations continue. Students will follow the health and safety protocol that teachers will be sharing with them as they've done in the past. Of course, they've only been in the buildings 2 weeks of the month. Now they're going to be in the building 4 weeks, and there are more kids. So making sure that occurs. Also, we are going to make sure that the teachers do some reteaching of the expectations so that whole positive behavior intervention supports will take place, because we know that we just continue to have to remind students about the expectations that are occurring in the building. We also talked about making sure that we have some alternative to suspension. Our kids are coming back, so we want to make sure that they are in the building and there to learn. And so just really looking at some other ways to deal with some of those behaviors, unless it's something really significantly serious. And so we talked about that. We also developed a welcome back idea list, and it's pretty lengthy, but principals are going to be doing some of those things throughout the week. Just to give you an example, obviously when we first come back, there'll be a welcome back school message. Every building will have that, and they will share that information over the public address system. We're going to do some random acts of kindness in the building throughout that week. Maybe have reps from the week, like a Scarlet. The students who were Scarlet and the students who were Gray, maybe they can wear Scarlet wear and Gray wear, that sort of thing, just to kind of bring that camaraderie together. So those are some of the examples. Making sure that we're visible in the buildings, in the hallways. Mr. Burton talked about the administrators. All of the administrators are going to be out greeting the students as they come in, and we're going to be doing that the whole week, as we did last year when they came to school, when they came back to school. Also, just continuing to look at the data from the winter benchmarks, and all of our schools have intervention blocks now. They have intervention bells, and so they're going to really be focusing on those students who are who are struggling, but also those students who are receiving enrichment, but need some extra support as well. And so based upon the data from the assessments, they have identified students who would need that additional support. So they're going to be continuing to do that. One of the focus that the principals shared in our principal presentations, the areas, the special ed, the EL students, that's a focus for us because those are students that have the largest gap. So they're going to be working real closely with those students. The teachers are going to be doing that. We also talked about the after-school intervention and enrichment that's going to be occurring at the end of the school day. So all the elementaries are going to start on March 17th, Monday through Thursday, 3 o'clock, start at 3 o'clock, ended 4 o'clock. And John Fricky has helped provide that transportation. Princeton Middle School will be March the 17th, Monday and Wednesday, 2:15 to 3:15, and then the high school is March the 16th, Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting at 1:15. So those are the kinds of things that are going to be occurring. The intervention blocks are going to be occurring for like 45 minutes at the end of the day as well. So we've got lots of things planned for our students. I told the principals we're going to love on them, we're going to welcome them back, but we're not going to forget the remote students as well. So we're going to do some fun things with the remote students also. So those are the things that we have planned. I wanted to also talk about the vaccination administration that's going to be on March the 11th. All of our teachers have signed up. I looked on the Genius sign up tool just before coming, and there are hardly any more signups. Sure. Spaces. So they are ready to go, 8 to 12. We're probably looking at about 600 signups, 600 folk to participate. Our nurses and our health assistants will continue to assist Mercy Health with the registration and will assist the nurses with the who are vaccinating. And they are, I think the teachers are ready to receive that second vaccination shot.
We certainly appreciate Mercy Health. They've done a great job in coming over, helping, supporting. We've seen other programs, and the line is out of the door, and people are waiting, and it's uncomfortable. And social distance and several other venues have been a problem. So we're very fortunate that we had a very smooth process. We've had lots of people volunteering to check people in and to lead and to help with vaccination. So that's been wonderful. I wanted to piggyback on one thing Dr. Phillips had talked about, and that's intervention. I just want to remind all the parents that if we make the recommendation that your son or daughter needs to be after school for a little bit of time, they may come home and they may not necessarily be happy about that. But as I've said to my own children, that's your choice. So we really have very high expectations, and love is not giving kids everything they want. Love is giving kids what they need. And we're going to love our students enough and care enough to intervene enough to close learning gaps. And, every once in a while when I speak, I know I sound pretty stern, and I'm okay with that. And I'm not going to apologize. We have got to help close the learning gap, the COVID gap. We've done a great job. The Board of Education has been so supportive to eliminate the digital divide, but that's only part of it. So the learning that goes on, so moms and dads, grandma, grandpa, guardians, and so forth, when we make the recommendation that your son or daughter needs to stay after school, please support your child enough to make that happen. We're going to get them home safely. Thank you.
And we really do appreciate the interventions and the summer school and all of that, because we know that they've missed a lot of things. But can you give us some big overall numbers in terms of how much the slide has been in this past year from last March until March 21? I know we didn't do like state testing, but we were doing iReady and other kinds of them. So we've like kind of some big numbers, like where we were, where we are, how much as a group we've lost.
Well, I would suggest we went over all that information at our last cabinet meeting. So we have year-to-date information comparisons. I will tell you that we have very little students currently that are scoring at the highest level. Very few students, I should say. We have a larger gap down the bottom. But when you look at the first administration to the second, you see great growth, or excuse me, actually the first to the second, you see good growth. The second to the third, you see great growth. And we're going to see unbelievable growth once kids come back to school. And so, but we can give very, very detailed information at the work session and go over all of that. I just want to remind all the parents that are looking out there that may hear that and could be alarmed. The biggest issue right now is that you are supportive of your son and daughter and continue to support us as we make the best decisions that are possible for them. This is, again, this crazy year, and there's a lot that's happened, and I would just push, and probably we'll get some pushback, but education, as we have found, is everyone's responsibility. It doesn't just happen during the school hours. And one of the things that we've talked about at board meetings, and I've talked about at Q&As, is how much we appreciate the fact that parents have become more teachers than they ever thought they were going to be, learning about Zoom and so forth. And if you could look back, especially the elementary parents, but middle school and high school parents should still be supporting literacy at home. But when was the last time you read to your child? When was the last time you took them off their phone, took them off their video game, and had them read? There's, the old commercials, reading is fundamental, is true. And we need to support that. And we have lots of great opportunities to do that. But I think we all coming together, we're going to see that the gaps are going to close quicker, and they're going to close more authentically, and we're going to be able to provide more opportunities for our students. But Dr. Hawkins, the rest of the Board of Education, will be glad to provide you with any documentation and data that you guys would like to see next month, but next board meeting. But as I've said before, what do we expect? I was interviewed by 2 television stations. Trisha Roddy can remember this. You want to know about state testing? I will tell you who's going to score the best. Those schools that have been face-to-face. There's no two ways about it. You want to know which schools are going to perform the worst? Are going to be those schools that weren't in at all. The remote students, they're not going to perform well. It's just a fact. Now, you will have some kids that do, but by and large, you're going to see that. And where are those surrounded around? It's all economics. And that's a problem. And I'm glad that we were able to go at least 2 weeks out of the month. When you look at a lot of the hybrid models, a lot of times it was 8 days a month where students are going to be in session. We're able to be in session in person 10 days a month on an average. So I'm glad that we were able to do that, but having kids face to face will change things for sure.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing that. Thank you. Thank you.
I've written it down. Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
Great plan. Didn't hear counselors mentioned.
No.
Meaning everybody's coming back together. And then when we say counselors, I mean both on the mental health side and on the academic side. Are we factoring the increased need?
We are.
For that, especially I'd say in high school, middle school.
We are. We will make sure that in fact, I just had a meeting with our elementary counselors and secondary counselors to make sure that the socio-emotional activities that we have in place are provided to our students during this particular time, because they are coming back together. So that's one of the ideas that's on the welcome back list.
And on the education side, is there going to be an additional need for that? Those types of counselors also?
We are continuing. One of the things that we're going to be doing this upcoming year is we know that we're going to have students who haven't been in school the whole year. And so with the COVID monies that we're able to get. We are going to be looking to have more counselors in our schools, particularly at the elementary level. Right now, we have counselors in our elementary buildings like twice a week, and in some cases, in one of our buildings, we only have a counselor 1 day a week. Well, we know that's just not enough, and so we are planning to add more counseling services to the buildings to support our kids coming back to school in the next school year.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Just curiously, as we know we're going to be faced with some gaps. I mean, that's a given. What I wonder is, have we started to look at how we're going to overcome some of those challenges? Are we going to have additional assessments? Or are we still looking at what are we going to do to start to measure as the kids are coming back? Because we know the gaps are going to be there, and we know there's going to be some extra needs, but what are we doing to look at how we measure that? Or is it too early to do that, to talk about that?
Well, I don't think it's too early to talk about that based upon the assessments that we've been given, the iReady assessments, the MAP assessments. I mean, we have data right there to show how students are doing. And now it's just about developing intervention plans to support those students who have some of those gaps. And our principals are doing that. When we bring the information to you at our next board session, you will see, I was so amazed at some of the work that is occurring in the buildings and the growth that is occurring. And we tell the principals, we say, we're looking at growth. It may just be, 3% growth. But the point of the matter is kids are growing, and that's what we want to see. It may take them a little while to get to where we want them to get to, but they are in fact growing. And so that's what we're sharing with our principals, because we don't want our teachers to get discouraged. They are working really, really hard. And we don't want our principals, obviously, to get discouraged either. So we're trying to look at that growth coming from a growth mindset to say, hey, we want our kids moving forward. You are moving kids, and that's what we want. And when we bring the data back at the work session, you will see, I was very impressed with the work that has been done and what's been happening in the schools. And it's good. It's good. We know that we have some areas to work on. Our students with disabilities, our EL students, some of our students, they're struggling, and we know that. And we're putting things in place to support those students and the students who are actually, in that red, like Mr. Burton was talking about, the ones at the bottom, but they are doing that. And there are lots of interventions that they have in place to make that happen. So I think you will really be pleased.
Yeah, I'm interested. I can't wait to see that information. And I think, again, the point for me was that, I hear about what the struggles are. We're not talking enough about what we put in place to overcome that. And I want to hear more about that, to your point about the growth, because I think that not only for the students and for the staff, but for the community to know that we are seeing some progress. So I can't wait to see that.
Great. Thank you.
Great. All right. Thank you. Next, we are moving to reports. Treasurer's report first.
I want to let you all know we're having our Finance Committee meeting on Wednesday morning at 10:15. Our agenda looks like strategic plan discussion and setting a standing meeting, and then adding members. So that's what we have on our plate so far.
All right.
Just a quick note about the ongoing budget process at the state. OSBA, OASBO, and BASA had their meeting last Friday to discuss where everything is standing.
Mm-hmm.
You probably received an email, I'm hoping, with the recording of the webinar and the slides. If you did not, board members, let me know. I'll forward you the one I received. But again, just a reminder, we have the governor's budget. It won't be the final budget. We don't want it to be the final budget, but he has frozen our funding at FY19 amounts. He has increased student wellness and success funding. And we hope to see a little more movement on fair school funding. And we're not sure we're going to get there, but we're working with House and Senate members. Those are the next two hurdles. And then, of course, the conference committee probably will happen mid-June in hopes that they have a budget prepared by June 30. So hang on.
Is there anything else we can do to make sure we get more than what's frozen at the FY19 level?
I'll just say that the meeting started very interestingly, where they discussed that the state revenues are not doing poorly. So they're ahead of estimates. The economy in Ohio is rebounding, and there certainly is some money on the table. So we just need to get it moving towards public education.
Yeah.
And
we do.
And just as
Thank you.
Just as a reminder to the community that, you know, when you hear about COVID dollars, CARES dollars, ESSER dollars, and all that stuff, just as a reminder that we had $1.4 million that the state did not fund us. They actually took $1.4 million, and we said in a board meeting, we understand we need to be part of it. We're right in the beginning of a pandemic. We need to do our part. The very next fiscal quarter, there's another $1.4 million. So a total of $2.8 million in a very short period of time that was taken from our budget. And so when you hear about CARES dollars, when you hear about all these other things, just know that if we go back to the traditional funding where we should be right now, that will be huge, at least to start. But we would not have been given any type of raise, if you will, any additional money of state revenue. So as convoluted as school financing is, it just has become significantly more convoluted when you look at not only fair funding, and I'll talk about that in my report, but in general, you know, we're going to need like PhDs to understand all the different nuances, but with all the different buckets, just know that Chris and her great department, they put all the buckets together, and then they're going to compare that to what we had before. And when she says we're up X amount of dollars or we're down X amount of dollars, that's really where the rubber meets the road. And Chris does a great job of making sure that I don't get too excited when I hear we're going to get more money, which she just did the other day, actually.
We're very early in the state budgeting process.
Okay. I'm just worried about a possible levy. If we have a levy 2 or 3 years down the road, I don't want to overspend now and then be sorry later.
I would just like to remind the community that we don't talk about a levy unless we need a levy. We do not need a levy. We've done a great job. Thank you for your support. We're not going to talk about levy anymore. Please, board members.
Please let me
The last
clarify.
time it was mentioned,
I didn't say we needed one.
Thank
I didn't
you.
say we needed one. Okay, thank you. Just for
Thank you.
clarification.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. The last time it was mentioned in a board meeting, I received 4 phone calls about when the next levy is.
Please, no
we're not
phone
thinking
calls.
about
No
it,
phone
community.
calls. I didn't say we were going to have one. I don't even know. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
That's what I have.
Thank you for the treasurer's report. Superintendent's report.
Sure, a couple of very quick things. Obviously, I mentioned earlier Women's History Month. We're very proud of the great contributions. It was not designed like this, but when you think about the 2 students that represented our great district, Maria, who played that great piano solo, she's so talented, it's amazing. And Dia, the great work that she did and being recognized. You know, we didn't plan that. And of course, Jill Phillips, the great legacy. I mean, everything just came together, right? You look at the legacy presentation in middle school and then the 3 great representatives, certainly the history that they're going to help make, it's tremendous. A couple board meetings ago, we talked about a little piece of property right outside of POC. John Fricke did a great job, worked with Gilkey, and they're going to make a donation to our business corporate fund, and that money will go directly back to students. And they're going to do any upkeep. They're going to do everything, the construction or whatever. We feel like this on top of being good neighbors, but we got something for it, which is great. And we'll be prepared at the next board meeting to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
Myself, Dr. Hawkins, I put this in the board update I sent out today. Myself, Dr. Hawkins, and Dr. Phillips will be making a presentation to AASA, their equity cohort, this Saturday. And we were thrilled that we were invited to do this. And it's not the only one we're doing. We actually were invited, myself, Tanya West Wright, and Dr. Phillips will be presenting at Harvard University virtually about the equity work and access that what we've done at Princeton, our Princeton story. And while, again, we still have work to do, the fact of the matter is people are recognizing the work that's been done, the action plans that we have, and then ultimately what we're going to do. So stay tuned for more information on that. We have 4 students, Tricia Roddy, 4 students, is that accurate? Yes, thank you. 4 students that will be helping run a C Summit. And See Us is really what it is. And it's, again, great work that's been done about social justice. And this is a conference run by students. And there's support, obviously, from adults that are helping them put some things together. But that's going to be April 24th, which is a Saturday. And we have 4 of our students. We have one that will be actually opening it up. The great work that's been done on that, this will be available for anybody and everybody. So stay tuned for more information. We're going to send that out social media wise all over the place and do an all call as well. That's going to be amazing work. Last week I had a dinner with Bill Blessing, Senator Bill Blessing, and we talked a lot about fair funding, school finance, equity, access, and just about any other topic that you could cover in 3 hours of a wonderful dinner. And it was amazing because my wife actually was there too, lobbying for some legislation for school nursing. And, you know, Senator Blessing, and this is not an endorsement of him about a political party or whatever, he listens. And he really took what we had to say in account. Now, all of us can say right now, whether or not you're a Democrat or Republican or whatever, but the fact of the matter is we need to come together, and I'm going to have a call to action once we see what's going on with fair funding, once you see what's going to be unveiled with the Senate budget plan, because that they're going to come out within a couple weeks with this budget plan. And when that happens, we're going to all need to come together. And again, I'm not trying to be stern again, but we can't whine and complain if we're not going to do something about it. If we do something about it, and we've tried all we can, and we've written letters, and we've called, and we've emailed, and we've done those things, and it doesn't work, then we've all done our part. If not, then we have not done our part. And we actually, I believe, can make a difference. Princeton can make a difference in school funding. We need to come together. And this is what needs to happen. It is not about, hey, Tom Burton, Chris Petter, Dr. Lillian Hawkins, can you send me what you want us to say? That never gets anywhere. It's not about a form letter. It's about personal experiences. It does not have to be long, short tidbits of information get digested. Short tidbits of information get digested. That got digested because it's short and it's a tidbit. That's what we need to do. And so, again, we're going to have maybe just a couple bits of information, but really we've gotten killed with TPPT, tangible personal property tax. We're capped, which means no matter the complexity of the district, no matter the enrollment of the district, if it goes up, we don't get any additional money. So we got hit on 2 fronts, and it's unfair and it's not equitable. We talked a lot about the transition. Again, we can't thank the community enough for being so supportive, the Board of Education for being so supportive with the plans that are internal, and of course, the unbelievable work done by staff, teachers, administration, everybody, our transportation incredible. And by the way, our transportation department too is taking part in the second vaccination. So we're going to have about 700 total between our staff and transportation receive their vaccinations this Thursday, their second one, which by the way, I had my second one on Friday. Very fortunate to just have a little bit of a sore arm and some fatigue. But what they're saying percentage-wise held true with a small group of people that we had. We had everybody have sore arms, a little fatigued, and unfortunately, we had 20% of our group that had a pretty bad way. But this is about protection of really bad things happening. So we know that by doing this, we will be healthier down the line if we were to get COVID. This is not a protection against COVID. This is a protection of long-term terrible effects and potential hospitalizations. There's still medically, it's inconclusive. And if somebody knows something different, please email me any documentation you have, but it's still inconclusive if you can actually give COVID to somebody else, even after you get the vaccination. So when Governor DeWine talks about wearing masks, staying diligent and vigilant, when Dr. Fauci does the same thing, we have to continue to stay the course. And then lastly, and boy, I tell you, what a great night it was at the Springdale City Council meeting. This is a resolution. They did a proclamation for us. And again, this was, we talk about closing gaps. Again, Springdale Elementary School got the highest award in the country for closing gaps, academic gaps, and really did a great job. And we're gonna close gaps. We are, but this is just yet another great recognition. And Lisa Timbarge, I know you're tuning in right now. We'll get this to you. You can hang it proudly at Springdale Elementary School. But this was a resolution passed by the city of Springdale. Also, the day that we were at City Council, it was officially determined that day was Springdale Elementary School Day in the city of Springdale, Ohio. So that was amazing. We certainly appreciate the great support of Springdale, Mayor Doyle Webster, and of course the council. And many of the council have students or were students at Princeton. So it was great to see, and including grandchildren as well, who I just found out the other day. So thank you very much. That concludes my report.
All right.
May I say
Thank
something?
you.
I want to thank you, Mr. Burton, for all your hard work. And I think it's just marvelous that Springdale's continuing to be recognized. And I just want to thank you for this too. Someone dropped this off at my house. It's a Princeton blanket. And then I got this Princeton shawl with such wonderful seamstress and tapestry work on it. So thank you very much. It was probably from the recognition month, but I finally got it and I've been using it because we still have the air conditioning on. And I just wanted to thank you also for my Not Just in February shirt. And because this is National Irish American Heritage Day, I got to have on my shamrock. And it's International Women's Day, which we mentioned. And trivia, who was the first woman ever elected to the Princeton Board of Education? Let me hear it. She lived in Glendale.
Peggy Shardlow.
Nope, not the first. 1967. Elaine Brockmeyer of Glendale was the first woman ever elected to the Princeton Board of Education on International Women's Day. I just felt led to mention it, especially since we are being respectful of celebrating our differences. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Questions?
Continuing the variety show, the vaccination and efficacy guidelines put out by the CDC today. Tom, are you familiar with what came from that? But basically the headline was 2 people that have been vaccinated can be in the same room without masks. I'm just throwing that out there.
You have on your mask now? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Here's one of the things that we've learned. The CDC has come out with all kinds of information. There are leading medical, authorities, and I'm not saying anything negative or whatever, but we know until we see documentation and medical specific research And the thing is, and I know medical professionals that have chosen not to get it for a variety of reasons, but I saw that those headlines, did not consume that information. We do have people that are much more familiar with us than that, but right now we're going to stay the course of what we're doing. And once you digest that, that report, we'll see. But I'm like from Missouri, as I said that before, just show me state, show me. And I know when I consume that information, that may show me everything, but right now we still need to be diligent and wear masks and socially distance the best that we possibly can. But we know, and I just received information the other day, specifically about our schools, the safest. There was a great article, and it detailed again all of the steps, the mitigation that's critical. And the number one, wear a mask. Number one. Number two, sanitize.
I'm not in disagreement with you. It's just that there are people that do read that and they become confused. And that's why I wanted you to address that so that there is no confusion about what Princeton's policy is going to be on the 15th.
Okay.
Mr. Burton,
Any
may I ask one more question? Mr. Burton, for whenever the time comes that teenagers and young adults can get the vaccine, are we on the list, or is that something the Princeton School District is going to try to do for students getting the vaccine down the road? I know, but
yeah, it's pretty far down the road. We talked about that last Friday, our superintendent's meeting, and it's interesting as more and more information comes out. There's a lengthy discussion regarding the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which everyone's excited about because it's one shot.
Right.
However, they're having a very difficult time to have it go through trials because they're not able to get enough people to sign up for the trial. And so they're kind of struggling a little bit. So that actually has prolonged a little bit of that release. And once all that comes to fruition, everybody feels, and the medical experts that I've talked to and that we've read have all said that the vaccine, it will go very quickly, but they still think that not until 2022 will we see a common vaccine plan, like we have the common flu shot and so forth. So it's still going to be a while, but when available, we will do whatever we can to help support that. And just as a reminder, the Board of Education, we not only vaccinated, we'll be going through the second shot this week. We also helped and participated in, I think it was 1,200 staff from Hamilton County Educational Service Center and other places around the area at our administration center. And we received a very nice email today regarding everything that we had done and the great support by us being great neighbors and making sure that we helped public health. Thank you.
I've heard nothing but good things. That's great news. Thank you for all that you do.
Any other comments or questions, points of discussion? All right, then we are going into executive session. I move we go under sections 12122G1 and 2 of the Ohio Revised Code, dealing with personnel and acquisition and disposal of property. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been second. Mrs. Petter, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Weider,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins.
Yes. All right. At this time, we will be going into executive session. There will be no action taken afterwards, but we will return to adjourn. Thank you.